Welcome to Learn, Apply and Build. So today we are going to see that how Python can be used to fetch the weather of any city or any place, any location. So let's get started. For doing that, we will be using a Python library called the request library. So we'll be importing that module first, import requests, and then what we'll do is we'll start with creating a function. So the syntax for creating a function in Python is def, okay, defining a function. And then let's label that function as, you can label it anything you want. I'll be labeling it as weather, and it will be accepting a parameter called city. You can enter anything here in place of city, like it can be C or anything. So make sure that in the end, when you are calling that function or invoking that function, you enter the city name. That is required. Okay, so now what I do is I need to use that request library or the request module, and for that I'll need an address which I'll call for the data, and that address is something from the open weather map, openweathermap.org. Now to get this app ID, what you need to do is to fetch the API ID, you need to log into openweathermap.org. If you don't have an account, you need to sign up and create one. I have already done it. And then you can just name your API key here and generate one. And make sure that you subscribe to the free plan. Okay, and so if you have some money, and if you need need the API for application which you will be selling it or something, then you can obviously use these plans, developer plan or a startup and an enterprise, as per your usage. But yeah, so this is a free plan which is available, and I have subscribed to it. So you can go here and copy this, and I have already pasted that here, as you can see. Yeah, so that's it. Now once we are done with this, our code will accept the API key. So I need to pass this, or I need to enter a request to this address, and that can be done using, so I need a city name for the from the user. So what I can do is I can just write city is equals to, and then take this parameter from the user. So I can just write input, and then prompt the user to enter the city name. And then once the city name is entered, what we can do is we can again create the URL by concatenating the API address and the city name, because the city goes here after the queue here, and then the data is fetched. So I have URL, which is the API address plus, so I've just concatenated both of them, I have just added them, so the city gets added at the end. This is my URL. Now what I do is I just create a variable, like for example a JSON underscore data, and then I'll just call the request library request dot get. And then what I need to get is I need to get that data from the URL which I created. And now as I've written that this is a JSON data, I just convert this JSON data to JSON. So I know that it's a JSON data. Now what I do is, the next step is, we are not yet done. Like we have some data from here, and now what I do is I just print that data to check that what that JSON data includes. So if I print that data, I save my code, and if I run my code, yeah, so if I run my code here, what do I get is, yeah, so I just write Python 3, and then I call the weather.py. So when I run it, it doesn't give me any output. Why? Because I have not invoked the function. Okay, I have not invoked the function. So to invoke the function, what I need to do is I need to pass here the function name, that is weather, and then the city name, that's if I just call it. So if you want, you can just remove it from here, and I'll take the input from the user. So I'll just save this. I have invoked the function here, and now let's see what does the JSON data print. So if I just call this now, it'll ask me, that's the user, it'll ask me for the city name. So I'll just enter my city, and now if you see, it starts with coordinates, longitude, latitudes and longitude, then weather, and this is the weather description, base, and then there is main, temperature, and then it feels like what is the original temperature. So this is something like a JSON data. Okay, and it's sunrise, which is in UTC format, sunset, which is in a UTC, and then time zone, ID, name is Mumbai. Okay, so this is today's data, whatever, right? But I don't want the data to be like this. I want something to be that what's the weather like. So if I just write weather and then the description of the weather, I want something like that. So what I do is I just make some changes into my code, and instead of printing the JSON data, I go and I just format the code. So I just write format and then data. So that formatted data is now equal to, I just print the JSON data, and from that JSON data, from the JSON data, I just call the main which was there. So if you can see here, there is a parameter called name here. So I just got, if you want, like what we can do is we can p-print this. So if we can p-print the JSON data for easy and fast visualization. I'll just comment this out. Yeah, I'll just comment this out, and instead of printing it, I'll just print the JSON data, and I'll need to import the pprint function. So import pprint. So now what it will do is it will print the data systematically for us. So let's go and just run this again. Enter the city name, that's Mumbai. And okay, what it says is the pprint module object is not callable. So if I want to print that, I'll just change the city name. Let's say it's London. Okay. Is the spelling right? Preprint, weather.py, JSON data. Okay. So let's just preprint, and then we print it. The JSON data gets printed. Okay, so here it is. It prints the data for me. So just I was saying that we need this data, the main data. So from here, what we can do is we can take this and we can print it. The only thing I require, main, because I need the temperatures. So what I can do is now I can just make changes inside the code, and instead of getting the JSON data printed, I'll just get the main parameter from the JSON data printed. And once that is done, what I can do is I can just print the data in this format. from the main, I just need to print the data in this format. So it's the weather is something, and the temperature is minimum this much Celsius and maximum this much Celsius. And from there, what I'm doing is from the JSON data, I'm going to weather 0 and then main. I'm calling the main, and then what I'm doing is I'm changing the temperatures to degrees Celsius, both the temperatures to degrees Celsius, and then calling the weather function again. Let's just save it, and I'll just stop printing the, okay, yeah, I've stopped already printing the JSON data, so I'll just go ahead and just clear this out, and let's run the function again. And the city is Mumbai. Okay, I need to save the format address. It says format data. Okay, I don't have format address, I have format data. So I can just change this as ADT, save it, and then again run it. City is again Mumbai. Okay, so weather is haze, that's the description of the weather. Temperature minimum is 30 degrees Celsius and maximum is also 30 degrees Celsius. So this data is a bit historical, and it's not that accurate, but yeah, so if you are subscribing to the free version of the data, as and when you increase the subscription or you just upgrade your subscription, the data will be more accurate enough for you to utilize in some application or something. But this is a basic structure or the basic code in Python for fetching the weather of any city, you can say. Yeah, so you can be using this in any other application or in a application wherein you need the weather to be called, or the weather to be continuously fetched or being updated. So that also can be done using this code. Okay, so yes, thank you so much for watching the video.